What's happening, guys? It's Larry here. Just wanted to say thank you so much for listening. And if you get a chance, please head over to the iTunes store, subscribe to the show, leave me a review if you wouldn't mind. And for all of you Android users out there, don't forget to switch from Google Play to Google Podcasts. That's the way that they want you to consume your podcasts from now on. So from Google Play, head over to Google Podcasts, and all of your subscriptions should show up. Thanks so much for listening. Let's get on with the show.
What's happening, roadies? This is Lauren Crowley.
This is Nate Barr.
Hey, what's happening, roadies? This is Trace Davis, and you are listening to Roadie Free Radio.
What's up, roadies? My name is Larry Milburn, and this is Roadie Free Radio, your VIP pass to meet and greet the stars behind the scenes of the music and film business. All right, what's happening, roadies? Welcome back to this week's episode of Roadie Free Radio. You're listening to episode 110. My guest this week is Trace Davis. Gosh darn it, this is Larry Milburn, your host, coming at you from a snowy-filled barn in Northwest Connecticut. What the heck is going on with you people this week? California, are you okay? Holy shit, man. Wow, you guys are just getting trampled out there. My adopted home state of California, man. I can't believe what you're going through. I hope you're okay. I feel so bad for everybody who have lost homes and studios and stuff and families, and it's just fucking terrible is what it is. I want to give a personal shout out to Mark Rivette of the All Guitar Network, producer over there at the All Guitar Network, works very closely with Norm Harris over at Norman's Rare Guitars. Mark lost his home. He is the reason why I do content for the All Guitar Network. Mark, I'm just giving you a special shout out, buddy, and I hope you're okay and you and your family are okay. Guys, it's been a crazy week. We got some good stuff to get to, so we're going to jump right into it right here. First of all, right off the bat, November 17th was a big day in roadie birthdays. I got to give a shout out because this is the thing I love about doing the show now, is people start following me, people that have been on the show start following me, and I get the birthday notifications on Facebook, right? So Saturday, November 17th, we had 3 killer birthdays. We had Night Bob, who you all know. We had Chris Wilson, one of our sponsors from Show Pro Beard Co., and Tiffany Hendren, a sound girl from soundgirls.org. Great company, great gal, 3 great people, and it just made me so happy to open up, find out whose birthdays were that day, and 3 roadies. I love it, man. I absolutely love it. Listen, if you happen to be in Europe for the next couple of weeks, head over to the Magpie Salute webpage. Check out their tour schedule. Our friends, the Magpie Salute, are on tour right now. Say hi to our roadie brethren, Mr. Randy Brown, Mr. Doug Redler. I think Drew Consalvo is out with them as well, although I'm not 100% sure about that. Martu's there. You know, this thing is just awesome. You guys know I love the Magpie Salute. I can't get enough. What are you guys watching documentary-wise? I got some suggestions, all right? I come bearing gifts for you. Both of these following shows I'm going to tell you about are on Netflix right now. The first one is in season 2, and it's called Hip Hop Evolution. Great, well-made show. I think it's about 4 or 5 episodes this season. And it's basically all about hip-hop, how it's permeated the culture, how it started, who were the main players. Really well done. Really great interviews. The show is executive produced by Sam Dunn from Banger Films. If you don't know Sam, he is also the director-producer behind Rush, Beyond the Lighted Stage, as well as Super Duper Alice Cooper and many, many more. They also have a very killer YouTube channel. Head over to Banger Films on YouTube. A lot of great content they're putting out over there. The other documentary you got to check out that I just saw is Quincy, the Quincy Jones documentary. Oh my God, directed by his daughter, Rashida Jones, as well as Alan Hicks. Super, super cool documentary about Quincy Jones, his life, his struggles, the incredible amount of illnesses and physical things that happen to this guy along the way are really incredible and inspiring, how he just keeps bouncing back and really squeezes the life out of every single day that he is blessed to be here and blessed to be making music. So head over, check out Quincy, check out Hip Hop Evolution. Speaking of movies, We lost a legend this weekend in Hollywood. We lost William Goldman, screenwriter behind Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, All the President's Men, many amazing films. His book, Adventures in the Screen Trade, was the first book I ever read about the film industry, and it really sort of set me on my course. So great guy. Our thoughts are with you, William. Thank you for all your work, buddy. I'm going to end this before we get to Trace Davis with a little story here. So as many of you know, if you've been following on social media, I'm letting the beard go, right? I'm just letting the beard get a little funky, get a little crazy, and it can get a little out of control. I live near my parents. When I moved back from LA, my wife and I settled down up here, and we're near both of our families. And my mom and I have a great relationship. She loves to bust my balls about all sorts of things, particularly my appearance. So always, asking me to get my hair cut or trim the beard, all that kind of mom stuff. Anyway, she's always on me about the beard. Well, the other night, we all went out family dinner, and at the end of dinner, she looked at me and she was like, "What did you do to your beard? It looks amazing. It looks nice and clean and healthy and great. And just like, what did you do?" And I was like, "Mom, it's Show Pro Beard Co." And she was like, "What?" I said, "Mom, it's Show Pro Beard Co., one of my sponsors on the show. I put the stuff in and it just shines it up. It makes it look great." So it works, man. So if mom likes Show Pro Beard Co., your mom or loved one's going to love it too. So check it out, man. Show Pro Beard Co., as you guys know, I've pumped it before. Started by live audio engineer Chris Wilson and his wife. They've created their very own unique formula of beard balm. Not beard oil, it's beard balm that not only performs well in terms of health and nourishment, but also provides the control, shine, and pleasant aroma, which is quite true, that any bearded professional would appreciate. They are non-waxy, they are all natural, and they will leave your beard soft, smooth, and nourished. You can get a sample pack, all right, for $15. A sample pack for $15. It's awesome. I got one of those. Or you can just get a single container for $18. If you use the code RODIE, you will get yourself 20% off your order. RODIE gets you 20% off. So check it out, Show Pro Beard Co. There are links in the show notes on the webpage. Head over and check out that product. And finally, before we get to Trace Davis, do not forget Saturday, December 8th, Peeking Behind the Curtain, Rock and Roll Life on the Road over at Lagon's Music in Elmsford, New York. I will be there hosting a panel with my boy Nightbob, as well as Rich Neeson, and some special surprises. It's going to be a killer evening. Doors open at 6:30. Show starts at 8. I think it's $35 a ticket. Head over to lagondmusic.org to get yourself a ticket and come down and check out the evening. I would love to see you. Please hit me up if you're coming, and I'd love to meet you in person. Be a good time. All right, so here we go. Trace Davis, Ithaca, New York man, has been chasing tone, has been chasing that perfect guitar tone. What a guy. What a guy. Very zen. Like I said, he drove down here from Ithaca and sat right here in the barn, right on my couch. We had a very nice chat. It was very cool to meet him. I would love to check out one of these amps sometime. He's been catering to some of rock's, most incredible players. Joe Perry, Brad Whitford of Aerosmith, Spin Doctors are on that list. My old favorite band, the Spin Doctors, are on there. Just a ton of amazing players. So head over to voodooamps.com. You can learn more about Trace over there after listening to this episode, and you can pick yourself up an amp. You can get your amp modded. He's chasing that Marshall tone. So check it out, man. Great stuff. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. I really appreciate it. If you have any thoughts, comments, suggestions, hit me up at info@roadiefreeradio.com. All right, let's do this. Get your parkas on, get your coffee out. And here we go, Mr. Trace Davis.
Hit it. Call yourself a roadie. Call yourself a roadie. Call yourself a roadie.
I have this awesome coffee here on the way up, and so far I'm doing pretty good.
You're feeling all right.
It's early in the morning, but it's all good.
It is early. I appreciate you coming down, and I'm going to say for the record, I had a whole thing I was going to blow some sunshine right off the bat here.
Okay.
Which was to thank you you're like one of the few. You're not the first who's done an interview in the studio.
Okay, well, that's fine. I
But
would expect I'm not.
But you're possibly the one who's driven the farthest, even from Ithaca.
Well, I don't
And I
really
thought
like
you were going to come from
through
Virginia.
the phone thing. I've done that before, and it just sort of, to me, there's just something lacking. I don't know, a disconnect perhaps. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Without being in the same room. So
Yeah.
I get asked a lot, but I don't really like doing interviews unless it's in person. You know what I mean? So.
So if you can make it.
And Night Bob was, he's like, you have to do this. I'm like, really? All right, and check this out. And so I listened to a few things, like, all right, and then you happen to message me. I just get inundated. So I intended to message you, but you beat me to it.
That's all right. Well, with the show, you gotta stay on it every week. Make sure you got it.
Oh, and Greg Howard, he was also.
He gave me a thumbs up.
Yes.
Excellent.
Greg's awesome. I love him. Great.
Yeah, we had a good chat.
He's an awesome guy. Yeah,
He is.
I was fortunate enough to tour with him too, and we always had fun.
What was that? When did you guys tour?
It was. Let me think now. I think it was about 2 years ago. I did the AC/DC tour. I went out on tour for a while with them. Usually, I kind of bounce on and off after a few days, but I went out with him. He was doing Stevie on guitar.
Yeah.
And Trace Foster was doing Angus, and so I was working on the amps. Essentially, they have a whole bunch of amps out there.
Yeah.
And so I toured with him, and our trip was to find really cool restaurants, eat good food, basically, or that kind of stuff. I don't have many vices left anymore, but I love good foods.
Right.
Yeah, it's like my thing.
You've peeled off a lot of the vices.
Oh yeah, I never really had a ton. Don't get me wrong, but I was never into the drug thing or any of that stuff. So nothing like that. But if it's good wine or whatever.
Sure.
Good tequila, good scotch, anything good in life, whatever it might be.
Right.
Give it a try, because if you like it, it raises the bar,
Yeah.
in a good way. So we were fortunate enough that he and Trace Foster, Greg Howard, Trace Foster, and myself on that particular tour, we all were kind of the foodies. So we would just sort of scout out places, and it was cool. It was fun. So we, stayed out of trouble and all that jazz and just had a good time.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Do you and Greg, get into the minutia of amp building? Do you trade secrets?
We have.
Do you break it down?
Well, I don't know there's
no trade secrets left?
I don't really know as there's secrets, and what I mean by that is, if you were to take, I don't know, let's just arguably say a Plexi or whatever, Marshall Plexi.
Yeah.
Take your pick, of course, any amp. But if you were to change one component, you can radically change the sound.
Yeah.
Not a little. You can really, just with one, you can really substantially change it. So what that component's made of, or who made it, can greatly affect it. Not just in terms of sound, but in feel. Like, what does it feel like to play on the amp? You know what I mean?
Right.
Where everyone talks about sound. And for me, and this is just one man's opinion, but for me, the feel and the sound are equally the same or equally important. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So if it doesn't feel good, then there's just something wrong. You got to figure that out.
Right.
It may function fine.
Sure.
But it doesn't feel good. So to me, it's got to feel good.
It's funny that you say there feel and sound are on the equal plane, because
it'd
almost be like feel would be more important than sound. Because if it feels good, then you might sound a little better.
Well, exactly.
Right?
Who wants to fight it?
Right.
I'm sure there are people that do. Don't get me wrong. There's always exceptions to every rule. But to me, when you can make something where no matter where you're playing on the neck, on the guitar, it doesn't matter. It all feels incredible to play on.
Yeah.
So 10-gauge strings would feel like 8s or 9s. So when you're bending and vibratoing,
Right.
you know what I mean, and transitioning from chord to chord or notes to notes if you're soloing or whatever.
Yeah.
If it feels incredibly easy, the whole world kind of melts away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's inspiring. To me, when people ask, well, how do you view your job? What do you do? I always get asked these questions. I'm like, you know what? Inspiration. If it's not inspiring, then I don't feel I've hit the mark.
Okay.
And it's not, all the best test gear in the world doesn't give you any indication whatsoever what an amp's going to feel like.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't really think there's a lot of great gear, but will it tell you what it's going to sound like? In my opinion, no. It'll show you if it's working properly from stage to stage to stage and looking at the output and so on.
Right.
I don't want to get too technical like we were talking about earlier, but you can look at something that looks one way and take another amp and it looks the same way, and you built the same thing with different components and it looks the same, but it doesn't sound the same or it doesn't feel the same. So there's an art form where your math and science leave off, in my opinion. Now, there's a lot of texts that say, if I can't test for it, it doesn't exist. Okay, God bless you. There's nothing wrong with that. These days, I'm into the art form.
Yeah.
You know, does it feel good? Does it make you inspired to play? And if the answer is no, then it's not right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do. Yeah. Well, I think it's,
it sounds incredibly simple, I guess, but that's how I look at it.
Well, it does, but it also sounds a bit more heady. I mean, I think a lot of people, they go, especially when you're starting out playing or you're just getting into this stuff, you're just drawn to the guitar. I want a candy apple red Strat, right? Or I want a gold top Les Paul or whatever it is. And you're focused on that. And then you've got this thing next to you that I don't think a lot of people spend that much time, unfortunately, until they get way deep into it or they get real pro, thinking about this sound box that's next to them. This thing next to them that makes a lot of sound, right? It's just I turn these knobs, it gets this thing. Where you're taking it is like, this unto itself is an instrument, right? This box
I could
next
not
to you.
agree more.
Yeah.
Because when people go, well, it's, and I don't, and again, this is all just my opinion, this whole interview. So, with that being said, I've got dear friends that would disagree with me, okay? And,
right, yeah.
And while y'all might hopefully maybe be listening, or hopefully not, just because I don't waste their time. They're all busy, we're all busy. But it's a situation to me where I don't quite understand. Someone's going to spend, $75,000 for a guitar, but they don't, the amp is like, it's plug-in, just make sound, right? It's like, no, man. That can be as much of an instrument as a guitar, truly.
Right.
It truly can. And we stopped doing mods for the public for a couple of years just because our product line has been very time consuming in the best of ways and doing work for the artists, our endorsees, if you will, the bigger players. And so I kind of really enjoy doing that on a pro level because I get it. Yeah. Not only does the artist have to be happy, the front of house guy's got to be happy, your monitor, tech's got to be happy. Of course, the guitar tech has to know they can count on it, and it's got to sound consistent night after night, not blow up, not go down, And then, of course, the artist, has to also be happy. So there's like 4 guys that have to sign off on it. Right. So it's not as simple as just making one guy happy, which I like that. I like the challenge. I'm into that. Yeah. To me, that's what it's all about. Inspiration, the challenge, of meeting that thing where sometimes, and this used to happen, it doesn't really happen so much anymore. I mean, I don't get too much guidance, and that's okay. You know what I mean?
From a player or a tech?
Yeah, not so much in the pro world. I mean, because I guess I view my job as follows, is I look at that player, whoever it might be, and go, okay, let me see his hands for 30 seconds, just see how he plays. Is it hard? Is it soft? What kind of pick? Meaning hard or soft pick attack? Sure. How are they playing? Some are very light touch, some are very heavy, some are in between, some are, it varies. What kind of band is it? What's the sound of the band? And that's what I do. I take all of that and aim it specifically for that one player. Not, well, this circuit should work for you, so there you go. No. To me, it's a lot, well, it's almost all customization. To me. Yeah. That's how I look at it. I'll work on the whole rig, too, not just the amp. I work on other things. Not that we put that out there all the time, but we really don't. But so that's how I approach it, which, everyone does it different. Yeah. Literally, that's just my approach. Yeah. One man's approach. So
Right.
That's how I look at it. So we kind of just go in and make it happen. And and as long as they're happy, then great. It's that's really it at the end of the day. When people try to get in and control the process, where they read a lot on the internet. You know what I mean? Not in the pro world, I might add. But they go, I want to do this. I want to use this capacitor. I want to use it. I'm like, not so much for me to do it, but there's a bunch of other guys that would be more than delighted to do that, But I'd rather use what I know is going to make someone happy. And I know is consistent. I know isn't going to fail. And, at the end of the day, you've got something that will stand the test of time. Hopefully. That's at least what I shoot for.
Right. And you're also, again, trying to tailor it to somebody.
Absolutely. Even people that aren't professional,
whether they say, I want to use this cap or whatever, and you're like, okay, but we're trying to go for this for you.
Yeah, I mean, everything sounds and feels different, all components. It just kind of is what it is. Yeah. To me, again, opinions vary, but that's how I view it. Yeah. I hear the difference, so I'm presuming most will. I feel the difference when I'm playing on it, so I presume most will.
Right. Right. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I don't
I didn't. My first amp, and it's actually sitting over there, hidden by that bass case, was a PV Backstage Plus.
That. You know what? Here's a true story. It's a true story. And it's funny because I saw that and I was like, well, that's kind of odd, not a place. I wonder if he's had that for a while.
Oh, yeah.
When I was coming up, you're talking about guitars or something that's hard to play, right?
Yeah.
So for Christmas, when I was a younger fella, I went, man, I want a Les Paul. I want a Fender Strat, or I'd be okay with an Ibanez Destroyer, or whatever. Way back in the day when the magazines were out, I saw Phil Collin with Def Leppard. Well, that's a cool looking shape,
Yeah.
Didn't realize it was a take on the Explorer at the time. Again, I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I asked for all this cool stuff. I got a Sears guitar. Now that sounds cool until you realize, no, it was not the Silvertone.
Right.
It was a whole lot worse. It was a piece of plywood with paint on it.
Yep.
A horrible neck that they stained, and I wore the stain off the fretboard in like 3 months.
Yep.
And the thing played like shooting a bow and arrow.
Yep.
It was terrible.
Yep.
I don't know how on earth.
Action super
God
high.
bless my mom and dad for even getting it. By the way, they weren't sure if I would stick with it. So, fair enough.
Yep.
And I got this really, really, really clean Sears solid state amp that would not break up no matter what you did. So my buddy, he asked for some stuff, right, for Christmas. He gets this PV, same thing, this PV Backstage, right?
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, you've got distortion. I thought that's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I mowed lawns for an entire summer, and God, it was hot that summer. It just was. It was one of those heat wave summers. And I didn't get that, but I found this place in Geneseo, New York, called Buzzo's Music, which I think is still there. Little tiny place. But they had a Decade, which preceded that.
Right.
It wasn't quite as cool.
Yeah.
No, if you plug into it today, anyone listening, you're not going to get great sounds out of it.
Right.
That's what we had. We lived in the middle of nowhere.
Right, exactly.
That was better than nothing at that. At least I had distortion.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean?
And the distortion on that's pretty crazy, man.
Oh my God, it was over the top.
And it still works. I mean, that thing sat when I moved out. Well, after high school, it might have come with me to college upstate New York. I think it did for a bit. Then it basically sat in my parents' unfinished attic for like 16 years. With different temperature changes, right? And I thought for sure that cone's going to be dried out and like all that shit. And
yeah, I would imagine.
I plugged that thing in and it sounds amazing. And I brought it. I jammed with a couple buddies the other night and I brought it.
Oh my God!
And I played my telly through that.
I mean, I haven't played on one in I don't even know how long. Probably since back then.
It's so awesome, man.
It's been a long time.
And they were like, "What the fuck is that thing, dude? That sounds incredible." And I was like, "I don't know, man." I was a guy I'd seen Jimmy Plays Monterey, and I think I was 12 or 13, and I saw it on TV, and I was like, I want a Strat. I want a white Strat, And my mom took me to New Haven, to the Sam Ash down there, and I found a white Squire Strat. And again, this is 84, 85, something like that. So the Squires were still pretty good.
Yeah, they were.
Right?
As I recall back then, anyway,
Not
compared
bad.
to what else was available.
Yeah. And the guy was like, oh, well, you can get the Hendrix thing by doing this with this amp. And he pulled out all the knobs on the Backstage, cranked the saturation knob. Yep. And I was like, all right, I can take the whammy bar. And it goes, blah, 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 and I'm getting there. But then I never quite figured that amp out after that. I was like, I'm not quite happy. And then, of course, I plugged into like a Fender Deluxe and I was oh, okay.
I mean, a real tube amp of his.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing takes the place of that in my humble
opinion. No, totally.
It's not for lack of trying or trying other things. It's just, it's its own animal,
Yeah, exactly.
In a great way.
Exactly. But shit, I can't remember how we got to that little tangent, but
that's all right.
But anyway, it's all good. Yeah, so, but what I find interesting too is that I read the Premier Guitar article you did, and you talk about the your JCM that crashed.
Oh, that was an old Plexi, actually.
Right?
Yeah.
And that was sort of the spark.
It was.
And because you were chasing that tone.
I was doing session work, and I come from being a recording engineer and session player. So I had, I think it was 17 different amp heads, and then, I had combos and, speaker cabinets and whatnot. And I got lucky. I mean, the old Marshalls varied wildly. I mean, I work on them all the time, but it's all over the place. It's just the way it is. There's reasons for that. But that one was, as memory serves, I think either a late 67 or early 68. It was right on the, I couldn't quite data exact,
Yeah.
but whatever, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But that one just sounded like that was it. That was like the holy grail. I got lucky when I came across it. I didn't search it out.
Yeah.
It just right place, right time, I guess.
Yeah.
And I use it on a lot of recordings where guys go, "Hey, do you bring that amp?" Like, all right. Well, we had I was in a band as well at the time.
Yep.
We had this lightning storm. I wasn't home, and a friend of mine who's a bass player was playing on it, goofing around, not playing bass, but playing guitar, of course.
Yeah.
And lightning struck really close, and it, of course, wha-bam. You know what I mean? No fuse stops that so much.
Sure.
So, of course, it blew all the power, just blew the output transformer. I was like, all right, I guess I'll take this to someplace to get it fixed. And I sourced a guy that drove quite a ways and dropped it off. And he's like, we're going to get an authorized Marshall replacement output transformer. I'm like, oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. Okay, great. I got that thing back. I waited 3.5 months, which is fine. Whatever it took as far as I was concerned to get it right. I get it back. I take it home. I'm all excited, got a session the following day. So I fired it up and I'm like, oh, something's horribly wrong. It doesn't sound anything like what I thought.
Yeah.
It's supposed to still sound like.
Yeah.
So as I call it, because I don't know what to say, it was like a thin, pale shadow of its former self. It's like, well, I guess we'll just leave this out in the driveway and let Chunk Man take it home. I was like, this is terrible, So that really, not that I did that, but that's how I felt at the time. I was like, it's gone. I had it, and it is gone.
Right.
What am I going to do?
Right.
And that got me on the course of buying some older Marshalls and trying to figure out what made that so cool.
Right.
And so I really got into this because I lost something that was so amazing and tried to get it back.
Yep.
And I started with transformers first, where most don't bother. I didn't realize this at the time, but you order a transformer set and design an amp around it. That's pretty common and pretty normal still.
Yeah.
But I noticed that I got this one and I moved one output transformer over. Like, oh, that sounds better. Oh, that's better than the one the guy put in. Oh, wait a minute, we're on to something. And that started me sort of at the back end of it all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
yes.
Yeah, I mean, my dad worked at Westinghouse, making tubes, overseeing the quality control, yada. And so we always had caps, resistors he'd bring home, and I'd goof around, trip the circuit breakers.
Yeah.
All sorts of stuff like that. I mean, I was goofing around at first, and you go, let me show you this so at least, you're not, I don't come home and the whole house is dark, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so we'd slowly do that. And so but I didn't really, truly get into it until that amp blew up, so to speak.
All right, wait. So let's put a pin in that for a second, because now I remember where I was going, and we're gonna bring this full circle. Yeah. I wasn't really into or aware of I certainly as a college student, when I didn't have the money to pay for like a boutique amp or something like that, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I don't even know.
The 90s was early for boutique stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but even as I got a little older, I just wasn't exposed to a lot of it, and then I shifted whatever, got into film, and that's a whole other bag. But when I met Jim Weeder and Mitch Colby of Colby and Park Amps,
I'm familiar with Mitch.
At that time, Mitch was really just building his Colby amp in concert with Jim. And Jim, he was like my entrance into like, oh yeah, you change the speaker every 5 minutes. Let's change a speaker. Let's change a cap. Let's change. It's gonna change. And also how he would talk about, this nice. He would talk about it like wine. He's also he loves wine, so he would talk about it's got a nice bouquet of sound, or it's got a presence of note and things like that. I was like, the fuck are these guys talking about? But then I started paying attention and I got it. And as I listened to Mitch, I was like, oh, right. Then as I met guys like Analog Man, and what's going into a pedal and where you're sourcing things and all that kind of started to make sense. And it was like, oh my God, there's a whole other dimension. Now, folks that are listening to this show that are techs that are working, know this. But,
true.
If you're a novice to intermediate player, there's another world out there beyond, grabbing a pedal off the shelf and going for it.
Mass-produced stuff is mass-produced, so the tolerances are wider.
Yep.
It's not, and you're not going to find extreme consistency. Like every single one is not going to sound and feel identical to each other because you're mass-producing. There's reasons for that. But boutique stuff can be far more consistent.
Yep.
And a much more beautiful sound, if you will.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It all depends on who's designing it, though, these days.
I didn't really have any concept that you could mod something years ago when I was younger, and that, Analog Man, that's how he started. I bought a tube screamer that's over there for $50. It was on sale. Had it for 2 years, and then when I met Mike, I was like, what do you do with this thing? Do your thing to it. And he was like, well, here's the 25 different options of modding you could do this. I was like, I don't know, dude. Just give me, your base package. But I got it back. It sounds amazing.
Nice. I'm
crazy.
supposed to meet with him after this, actually.
Are you going down there?
Yeah.
That's
well,
awesome.
if he's around.
Yeah.
I'm busy. I'm like, I get it. Me too. I'm only out here now. That's it.
Yeah.
But hopefully, I remember I made a record back, I think circa 98 or 99. This band As It Is that we had. And we're coming around and writing some stuff again now. But anyway, there was a couple pedals that I did actually pick up of his. I didn't know who he was at the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Some things that I somehow acquired and used on the record, ironically. And I'm not a big effects guy. I don't use a lot. I rely on the tone and the amps. But there were just certain ones that you're not going to get that from an amp. So
yeah, right, exactly.
I use it. So I was like, oh, man, I'd love to stop in and see and say hi. And, just for the sake of,
Well,
Seems like a great guy. For everyone I've talked to that runs in the same circles. So.
Super cool guy.
Very
and
good.
his shop is awesome. And you
I'd
never
like to see
know
that.
where it
Just be fun.
is.
I geek out on that stuff, obviously.
You'd never know from the outside that, that guy's up there making these awesome pedals. So you got to, if you can do it, head down there.
Yep.
But, so to swing it all back around to that amp of yours that exploded, you talk about the feel of it and had that sound. But in the article, you didn't actually talk about what the fucking sound was. What was it? And what is it?
Well, for me, in my opinion, I was, at that particular time, I was digging on things like Bad Company, Free, Zeppelin, the Allman Brothers, a lot of stuff of this nature that was old Marshall-based stuff. Not exclusively, but generally speaking, okay? I went, wow, I'd like to get that sound because I don't have that kind of a sound in my arsenal. Arsenal, 17 heads, whatever. To me, there's people that have way more than I do, okay? But heads. I mean, that to me, it was a small number, but, I'm using the term arsenal.
Yeah.
And so I got lucky and really found one that it turns out I'm working on many, many, many others. I've only found 2 others that were like that.
That really spoke to you like that.
Yeah, one was this, a buddy of mine bought just blindly. He wanted me to service. I'm like, where did you get this? And it sounded and had that vibe.
Yeah.
Well, I should say 3 in total, not 2. Joe Perry had rented this amp, this Marshall, I guess Eric Clapton and others have rented, from SIR doing sessions, I think in New York City or something. Just had Artie on the back. I think it was ARTIE, as memory serves. And it was really similar. And so I think he rented it enough for someone to kind of clone it. And then I got working on it, through the chain of time, and it went, oh, I see where this is going, and so we tweaked it a little bit more, and he was really happy with it, But then there was one, the guy walked into our shop, going way back, and this was the first one that I went, oh, okay, it's another old Marshall, okay, great, but he wanted it going through, he wanted the TLC done, and I opened it up, and I'm looking inside, I'm like, wait a minute, so, we replaced the filter caps, because they were pretty rough, and a few other things that needed to happen, because it had a hard life, and we fired it up. I'm like, oh my God, that's it. So similar, like about 95% the same from going from memory, right?
Yeah. And
so I called him up and I said, I got to buy this. I got to buy this off you. He's like, oh, it's not for sale. It's not for sale. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I got to buy this off you. And so I paid way too much for it, but that became the platform for our V-Plex. The very first versions of the V-Plex were that, because I always went, why can't you wouldn't it be great, rather, to get an out-of-the-box amp that sounded like that?
Right.
Instead of taking it somewhere to have it modified and, yada, yada, yada. So
Sure.
that's what we ended up doing. That was the very first version of the V-Plex, which has undergone some changes over time. But, yeah, so, I mean, it was a lot like those bands, Bad Company, Zeppelin Free, Allman Brothers, Zeppelin stuff. I mean, all that.
But isn't the magic...
Old Gary Moore in some cases.
Isn't the magic of that also the type of guitar you're going to run through it?
Oh, sure, of course that matters. But, I mean, if you're going to take a Les Paul and plug it into a Fender Twin, it's not going to sound like...
Right, you want this thing.
Like those bands, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's where I think an amp is equally as much of an instrument as a guitar. I mean, there's a lot of reasons, and I could dig into, but we're not going to get that technical as we talked about. So, but yeah, that's kind of why I did that. I'm like, okay, that's the one, and I lost that tone, and I mean, I got really close, and it was cool, and then this guy just brought one in, and like, all right, this is it. I got to have this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And again, it was about 95% the same. It was very close. Very, very
That's
close.
Wild.
Yeah.
So for a guy who doesn't know and understand a lot of this shit, how hard is it to clone an amp?
Well,
I mean, are you
that's a good question. It's one I get asked oftentimes. So,
like, are you basically looking at it and going, okay, well, I know where this came from. I know what this is. I got to buy the exact same parts?
No, you don't have to necessarily do it that way.
Okay.
I mean, again, this is my opinion. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to go, what? What you got? Yeah, you do. You can, sure, but really, when you're cloning something, like I've cloned a lot of amps used on big recordings, like very famous recordings, some legendary, and they went, look, I got this, but this is the only one I've got, so I'd like to have another one. We'll call it a backup or whatever have you. And ultimately, it comes down to, like, we did this, what's coming to my mind is Richard Fortas of Guns N' Roses, right? He bought Mick Mars's #1 recording amp.
Right.
And it was using all on Motley Crue records up to and including Dr. Feelgood, which, having worked on it, Dr. Feelgood, Bob Rock had done that record, right? So that amp was best captured tonally on Dr. Feelgood. That's what it truly sounds closest like.
Okay.
Versus the other records, as far as the tone goes. So I guess he had, going from memory, about 2 or 3 other companies try to clone it. There's something in the low end wasn't right, and so on in his terminology. So, he sent me a pallet of old Marshalls, all made same year, 1973. It was a 100-watt Super Lead, the 1959 model. Jose Arnado had modified that. So it was a unique one. It wasn't crazy gain at all, or high gain, to use the proper term, but he's like, this isn't like the other ones. And I'm like, okay. So he sent it to me, and we went through it, and I'm like, okay, so you these Marshalls on this pallet are 3 months apart, all of them, and there wasn't one output transformer, not one power transformer, not one choke transformer that was identical.
Wow.
The lamb thickness was different, voltages were different, the sound was different on the output transformer, primary impedance varied. And so, all right, we're going to have to clone these transformers. Truly, if you really want it to be exactly the same, I can take a culmination of whatever I think is the best power transformer from all of these, and then output and transformer and so on. And we did. Got that done for him first, but then I said, let's build you one so it is right. And we did, and he used that for a number of years touring until we did the Signature Series for him. So It can be done. It's all how you do it.
Yeah.
If everyone's got their own way, I just have my way, I guess you'd say, of doing it. So I don't necessarily have to use like the old mustard caps in this case. There's other things that you can use. There's other ways. Plus, transformers change, literally.
Right.
And factually change as they age. So it's not going to sound the same as it did in 1973 or whatever year as it does now.
Sure.
And they continue to change, and they don't last forever. They do have a shelf life, like the old Fender Tweeds that everyone's paying a lot of crazy money for, and rightly so. They're awesome.
Yeah.
However, a lot of those transformers are just dying. They just stop working. You know what I mean? They're at the end of their product life.
Right.
And so they sound amazing. It's true. They sound amazing right before they blow up. Oh my God, yes they do. But once they blow up, you can't make one to sound the same, or it won't last very long whatsoever.
Sure.
So now how do you get that sound? Well, now you have to design something that kind of simulates, so to speak, that sound. Not software, but I mean in the amp. Captures all that stuff. Yeah. So it can be done, and I do it all the time.
How long is that process? You get a pallet of amps, and,
it takes what it takes,
also building all
it's
these
an
other
art form
amps
too,
on
so
your assembly line.
It's like going, so listen, Michelangelo, paint assistant. Listen, look, I'm really going to need this in like 2 days. Can you make this happen for us, please?
Right.
No, I mean, it's an art just the same as anything else is an art. In my opinion, it's an art.
Yeah.
So you can build it and put it all together and go, okay, well, it's not exactly quite there. So now we have to do what I call a fine line tweaking process, because I don't know what else to call it, where you go, oh, you know what? The low E and A are playing stiffer than the rest of the strings. Okay, so now where in the circuit do you look to make changes to make the whole amp feel the same, across it all? So that's You know what I mean? It's maybe it's 5, 6, 7 places. It depends on which amp are you working on too, because they're all different.
Right.
You know, different circuit boards, different hand wiring, different whatever. So a lot of that is finessing it around. You know what I mean, to get it to that point. And I wish I could explain how that makes sense in my brain.
Yeah.
I'd be a millionaire if I could figure out how to do that. You know what I mean? Like, hey, here you go, sell it to the world.
Yeah.
But until they can figure out how to like download something out of your brain and upload it to someone else's, then, you know, even though I have other guys that work on stuff, the end process, no matter what, comes to me. I have to like play on it, and I got to go, oh, this isn't exactly as intended the way I want it to be when if I design this mod or that mod. It's really a circuit design, but a whole new circuit. But anyway, I sit down and do that. I play on it, make sure it's just right. You know what I mean? You can have a crazy amount of...
Every amp that comes out, or every amp for A-list players?
No, every amp we work on, period. I don't care if you're, you know, sitting in a room like this. Not that anyone can see this, but it's a great room, by the way. And you're just playing for your own enjoyment.
Shitty room like this.
No, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. But if you're just playing for your own enjoyment, it doesn't matter.
Right.
You know, I mean, I've had some of the biggest players go, you know what? If my tone isn't there because I don't like touring, I do it for the reasons of when I step on stage to make music. That's why I do it.
Yeah.
And if it's not there, it's not enjoyable. I want to be inspired to play.
Yep.
To me, when I finish whatever I'm finishing for someone in that particular moment, right, where they're making music in front of 10,000 people or whoever, however many, when they're playing and it elevates their playing because they're really digging it, you know what I mean? And you're just in the moment and you're improvising or whatever you're doing, you're like, oh my God, this is great. That energy goes out to the crowd, right?
Absolutely.
And then they finish and the crowd's like, oh my God, that was great. And there's the cheering. And so it's just a circle back and forth of energy, right? It just keeps going and going. And so, you know, the next song, you pop it up a notch, right? We're elevating. And then the next one and the next one until you have the end of the show. And people are like, that was great. And eventually what happens is how you know it's awesome. People stop holding up their cell phones.
Right.
They're not taking pictures. They're not taking video. They're just going, wow, this is cool.
Yeah.
And that's the moment when you're, you know, when you're feeling that energy or whatever you want to call it, whatever words you wish to use.
Sure.
And you're connecting with it. That's so cool.
Yeah.
To me, that's what it's all about. If I can't give someone something inspiring, then I feel like I haven't done my job right.
Right.
So that's how I look at it. Now, it doesn't matter if it's a guy that's like, you know, I'm an attorney, I'm a doctor, or I work at Lowe's or whatever. When you come home and you play, you want to still have that inspiration. So all the stresses and the worries,
through, right?
Yes, all the worries of the world melts away for a while and you lose track of time.
Yeah.
To me, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
The rest of it is like, you know, oh, well, I want to do this. We want to mass produce. We want to make a lot of money. It's like, yeah, I'm not interested. I'll design something for other people, which I have before. You know what I mean? Many times. No problem. I'll do it under an NDA. But myself through Voodoo Amps, no, I'm not going to mass produce. It's not going to happen. I can't control making every amp feel that way. You know what I mean?
Right.
So why do it? It's just money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's all. It's just money. Some people go, well, yeah, it's money. But I don't get up in the morning and I'm not motivated by money. I'm motivated by the art form. And so for some, they're going to go, that's crazy. I don't understand it. But that's the truth. You know, to me, you need money to pay your bills, granted.
Sure.
But beyond that, man, it's, you know, sound is very powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times has music gotten you through bad times?
All the time.
Exactly.
Last night.
Or you have a good time. Well, there you go. There's an example, right? So when I mean, it can move you.
Yeah.
Sound or music moves people. It inspires people.
I did a video for All Guitar Network, Norman Harris's thing. For, you know, Norman.
I've heard of
right?
it. Yeah, I'm not familiar with him personally, but yeah.
Yeah, at Norm's Rare Guitars.
Yep.
And he's got a channel called the All Guitar Network, and it's a cool community. People, John Five's on there, Sam Bora's on there, and you know,
nice.
It's for guitar heads, basically.
Yep.
And so I did a short video for them on that, basically called "Just Play."
Mm-hmm.
And it was, you know, we all get caught up in our lives, and there's a lot of shit going on. And you're like, the thing's just sitting in the corner. I mean, you know, they're sitting all over this room, and I can go days with not picking a guitar up. But the message in this video was 3 minutes. Don't work on a scale. Don't try to learn a song. Just take one chord for 3 minutes and try to make
play something that feels good. To you, whatever it is, doesn't matter.
Because even if it's sometimes I'll do it before like a work call, right? Or like an email. I got to, you know, it's a moment of procrastination, but it's also a moment of inspiration where it's like, all right, I'm back in the zone. I feel good, you know. And it is. It's all about feeling good. It's funny. My best friend Vic and I, we went to high school together. We played in a lot of bands together. We have memories of, guitar stores around the country, particularly the Sam Ash in Boston in their acoustic room, where we just got lost for like an hour and a half. Those two guys sitting in the corner drooling on themselves.
You were those guys.
Yeah, exactly. Playing, and you come out and you're like, fuck yeah, man, that was awesome. And then the rest of the day has just got like a glow around it, Yep. It is. It's a very powerful thing. Music.
It's
and
far
sound
more than I
is
think
amazing.
Most people give it credit for sometimes.
Yeah.
It can easily be discounted, which leads me back to, again, an amp is every bit as much of an instrument as the guitar or whatever else you're combining that we call the rig.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The whole rig.
Yeah.
It all has to work in harmony or it's just not inspiring. It might be good, but it's not great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I always strive to make it great. That's just what I do. I can't not do it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I don't know. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I can't not do it.
Company's grown since you started, obviously.
Yeah.
How many amps are you putting out a year?
Oh gosh, I don't even know. I don't even. We were at a point where we were putting out more. I had entered into a distribution agreement, which I had ended. It was just a situation where there was. I mean, I own all of the company. I always have, as far as that goes. So they didn't own any piece of it or anything like that. But it got to be a situation where there's pressure we got to send this to China. We need to have them load everything on the board. We need to do da-da-da, and we got to bring the cost on. We're going to sell it for the same. I'm like, okay, no. Because you're now going to be pumping them out the door, and they're not going to be consistent.
Right.
When someone... My goal, I don't know if it's reached this point, but my goal in life was, with this particular thing, Voodoo Amps, just to go, if someone's going, I want to get a Voodoo modified amp, and they're looking for it, maybe online or Reverb or eBay, whatever. Yeah. Or they see it in music stores, at least go, I know that'll be great. Meaning, I know it's going to be cool, whether it's their thing or not. Yep. But, they know that they can count on it sounding great and feeling great, whether it's their perfect tone or not. That, to me, is cool.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And they know that
hit or miss for money.
It and played it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Making it hit or miss for money,
That's
I just don't have any interest in that.
Sure.
I just don't.
Yeah.
So if it takes longer to do something, which yes, it generally does, because I do bounce on and off the road a lot more this year than I have in a long time. Yeah. But I love doing that. Yeah. I love that. To me, it's great. Yeah. It's what's it's just awesome.
Getting away from the daily of building amps.
It has its place because, I have workaholic tendencies.
Right. But you're learning. You're learning on the road, right? Things are coming up and you're learning. You can bring that back to
yes and no. I'm not really learning anything that would, if you didn't have the level of experience that I happen to have, that's just years of doing it is what I mean.
Sure.
It's not an ego thing. But if you don't have that, then yes, you would probably learn volumes.
Right.
Because when people design products, and I always get people that want to send stuff to me, which I'm fine with. I don't mind helping in testing something and saying, here's what I like or don't like, or beta testing certain things. I have no issue with that. But, I'll look at something and go, this is no pro guy is going to use this. And they're like, well, why? I was like, if I drop this on the floor right now, it's going to break. Yeah. And if it breaks more than once, they're not going to use it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you got to understand what gear goes through on the road. Yep. And if you've never toured on that level, you really don't understand what the gear really goes through, and it's right. Way more than people think.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's like, well, it's going in a pedal board. I mean, it's going in a road case, and it's going in the back of a semi, bouncing all over. But man, there are certain areas where some significant potholes, and one of those kabams on the pothole, right, suddenly doesn't work. Right. Or God help you, you're wherever and there's a dust storm, and now you've got all kinds of stuff inside the gear. Yep. The techs are taking apart, blowing stuff out, and hoping to God it's all going to work. Right. Right. But there's so much stuff you get subjected to, rain, all kinds of stuff that if you don't design with that in mind, it's going to be hard to get pro guys to use it. Right. Not that I care. Don't get me wrong. I'm not telling everybody what to do. It's not my place. But when people ask my opinion, it's like, well, there's reasons why you got to design it a certain way. Again, in my opinion. Right. Right. So
And
that's how I look
with
at
a
it.
Voodoo
You know?
amp. You get
There's
that
that.
kind of
That's what we tried very hard to do.
Yeah.
Send it around world tours a few times, and if all you have to worry about is tubes, and I feel okay, we've done something right. You know,
pretty good.
That's what I'm trying to do.
pretty damn good. Yeah,
That's our goal.
exactly.
Or when I go out and work on rigs or mod stuff, still the same thing. Make it roadworthy.
Yeah.
But make it inspiring as well.
Jeez, hold on.
Uh-oh, he's dropping it all, ladies and gentlemen.
Look at that, it dropped and it's still working. How's that for the Zoom H4n? Still going.
That's a positive thing.
It is a great thing. All right, so let's go back, man. Let's get back to those early roots, upstate New York.
Okay.
Big family, small family, musical family. Your dad was Westinghouse. Small town.
I grew up, in a town called Ithaca, Avoca, and it was a town of, back then, 2,000 people. 98.5% were a farming community.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
It took you about 2 minutes to drive through the one main road, and, you kind of had seen the town. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. It's very cool. I went back for a class reunion recently. It was awesome. That's where we grew up. Then I did 9th grade through 12th grade in Bath, New York, the neighboring town, because my folks, both of them, worked at Westinghouse, point of fact. And they wanted to be a little closer, to where they worked, to cut down the commute. And so we did that. But not much bigger, but it's bigger. Don't get me wrong. But it's a very small town. Again, if you didn't work at that Westinghouse plant, I'm not really sure. There's some small businesses, but, nothing that would really employ people.
Sure.
Yeah. And that's long since closed and whatnot. But that's kind of that deal. I mean, I have
brothers and
small
sisters?
family. I've got a half brother. I've got he's an artist, great artist. No one else, nothing musical in the family, to answer that question, by the way.
Yeah.
Sisters, 3. But I don't really know where the music thing. If you're looking for DNA, the music thing doesn't exist in our family.
Where
for
were
some
you
reason.
in the?
I'm the eldest.
You're the eldest.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so you're influencing the others below you with your rock and roll ways.
For better or for worse, and I apologize for all that went on.
What was guitar first instrument?
Yes.
Yes.
I just knew that I wanted to. For some reason, I
Yeah.
don't know. I just I gotta play guitar.
Yeah.
I was always listening to music, whether it's on the radio. That kind of thing or not, that was most of it. We only got 3 stations. One was, and there's nothing wrong with this, a Christian station. It just at the time didn't play anything that I recognized. And, being 11 or 12, it wasn't cool,
Right.
So I wanted to hear songs I was familiar with,
Sure.
or hits or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And back then I was getting into the early stages of what was metal, which is so not metal now. But,
Right.
the heaviest it got was Judas Priest, Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
That, Sabbath sounded dated, ironically, to my ears back then as a kid.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But then Ozzy, came out. So stuff
Sure.
like that was guitar-oriented stuff, we'll call it.
Yeah.
As a kid, I was like, anything that's got cool guitar, I'm into it. And I was,
Yeah.
But oddly enough, I was also very much into, if a song or record sonically sounded good, the production, if you will, I gravitated to it. So I would listen to stuff that people would never think I would listen to. Even my friends, I'm like, they can't see this particular cassette
Like
or
what?
record.
Like what?
I can't remember. It was stuff like Bryan Adams. You know what I mean? That record came out.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't cool. My friends group listened to Bryan Adams.
Right.
Prince was cool.
Yep.
Stuff that guys like Mutt Lange, as a producer, made some amazing records. You know what I mean? So if it sounded good, I dug it.
Yeah.
I was into it. It sonically sounded good. So a lot of that has, when we're young, that imprint on our ear of what's cool, it happens in those earlier years.
Sure.
Because all we had to do back then in a small town of nothing else to do, listen to music.
Right.
You know what I mean? And hang out. When you hang out with your friends, you're listening to music.
Right.
So
listen, talk about it.
yeah, we did so much that revolved around music. Just listening and playing it constantly.
Yeah.
And that's what we did.
You started to get into that production end of it, engineering part
Eventually
of it.
I did,
When
yes.
was that?
Well, I first bought a 4-track, which
Yep.
was a cassette recording, because
Yes.
there was only analog,
Yep.
and started learning how to overdub, right? Which is, why are these records sound so huge with guitar,
Yeah.
So I would go, it's not 1 track, it's 2. I'd read stuff here and there, little pieces in these magazines, right? Which were far and few between back then. Coming from dinosaur times. No, so it seems. There's no internet.
No,
you know what I mean? You can't
crazy.
just go look it up. You know?
Yeah, right.
So I'd record 2 guitar tracks, hard left, hard right, pan them out, and then go, oh, that one's off a little bit from this one, and really start trying to get the performances as good as humanly possible. That, for whatever reason, was my goal. I don't know why, but it was. No one told me to do that. I just kind of did it.
Sure.
And then started, well, now it's 4-track. You got to bounce those down to 1, and you know what I mean? And
I do.
God, the fidelity sounded horrible.
I got my Tascam 4-track Porta 3 upstairs.
Oh, wow. See, I didn't even have one that
tapes,
cool.
A box of tapes.
Those sounded better. The one I had was a Fostex, was X15, I believe, and then the mechanism was plastic when you hit record. So one day I hit record and
the buttons popped off.
It just snapped. You know what I mean? And and they were expensive back then. By the way, you think that stuff's expensive now? No, that was cutting edge technology back then.
I still have a box of tapes up there.
Yeah, I still have tapes. Yeah,
and I held on to the Tascam
2-inch reels
this whole time because I'm like, one day when I have enough time, I don't know when this is going to happen, I'm going to get to sit down and finally mix those things down to 2-track.
There's all that stuff that we all do. I'm going to do this one day. One day I'm going to do this one day.
Oh, yeah.
I think I've been saying on some of these projects, I've been saying one day, I think for 25 years.
Yeah. It's funny because I have a tape deck there. And I sometimes will pull out tapes of things and listen back like, oh, that's not so bad. It's all right.
Analog.
You got to start somewhere, man.
Good. Well, when you're digital, you're sampling pieces of an analog wave file.
Right.
Pieces, not the whole thing.
Yeah.
There's something, I don't say magical, but there's just something there. I mean, I remember coming from records, vinyl records.
Yes.
And having, you got a great collection there. I was noticing when I came in too. And then it was 8-track, which is, I don't know, I didn't get it. It didn't make any sense to me. Then cassette, I was like, okay, I can sink my teeth into this. Then the Walkman came out. Right?
Oh, it's huge.
Where everybody now will go, an iPod. Or now it's just a phone that does it,
Yeah.
But all these advances were rapid, but there's something about analog when you record a signal like kick drums and bass guitar and guitars. There's this thing called tape saturation that the plug-in doesn't come anywhere close at all.
Right.
But this extra girth and width that would happen. As we're talking about guitar stuff, let's just talk about guitar stuff, right? So when people go, I want that tone on that record. Well, I worked on that amp, but let me ask you, want the amp or do you want the tone? Because the mic pre's influencing it. Of course, the microphones, right?
Yep.
Now you're printing it hard on the 2-inch tape to get that tape saturation to happen.
Yep.
God, which is so cool. You can't get that from the amp. The amp doesn't sound like that.
Right.
Kind of, but not really.
Yeah.
Truthfully, not really.
Yeah.
And when you stack up 4 tracks of guitar or more, depending on the record you're talking about, no, that amp doesn't sound like that. So I'll do my version of it. And when I first started out, everyone's like, I want that. Okay. And all right. And then like, it doesn't sound like it. There's no low end. There's no this. There's no that. It sounds gainier and bigger. All right, send it back. And then I would do my version of it and they were happy, So I went, okay, so people don't understand what and again, I realized that my growing up and going through 4 tracks and all that wasn't common.
Sure.
It just, for whatever reason, that was my growing up time.
Right.
So I went, okay, now I'll do my version of it for you. The way that my ears would hear this sounding like the record and, and make that happen. So then we had a lot more success.
Yeah. I think the biggest, just to go back to records and tapes for a second and the advent of the iPod.
Yes.
And digital thing. Obviously, I think, one of the sonically, lots missing. But the other great thing is to be able to pull out the record and hold it. And when you'd get tapes, that the jacket would unfurl like a deck of cards, right?
I remember that.
All the liner notes and all the shit.
What was cool about it?
Yeah.
And anyone that might be listening to this, probably, if you're old enough to remember this, right?
Yeah.
Was back in the day, you didn't know what the band looked like.
Right.
And there probably wasn't, most of the time, photos on the back of the album cover.
Right.
Unless you started to wander into some music store, mall, or something that, when the magazines first started coming out, Circus, Hit Parade, or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Then you saw what they looked like, right? But you never saw them talk, you never saw them move.
Right.
Until like Friday Night Videos came on.
Yeah.
That was a thing. And then MTV,
dude.
when they actually had music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
And house reality shows or whatever. I haven't even looked at it in years. I have no idea. But that was kind of cool, but you'd look at the liner notes, right? They had lyrics, of course, usually, not all the time, but you'd see pictures, you'd see who wrote what song, who's in the band, what's the name, all this kind of stuff that was cool. You know?
Oh, yeah.
And,
look at their...
I miss that.
Right,
personally.
their studio.
Oh, I
like
love
the
that.
environment they're
who
playing
produced it? Who engineered it? Who did all this cool stuff?
Yeah.
There's a horn section. Who played on it?
Right.
To me, I don't know, there's just something cool about that. But unfortunately, you don't really get that.
No, that's what I'm saying.
That's the bummer,
right?
In my opinion, it's
right.
a bummer. And I don't know how they would do it, but I'd be way into it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, it's going to cost another $1 or $2. Sign me up.
It is nicer though now to know that like if you're going to go traveling, you just need this thing.
Well, if you just carry your phone with you, don't get me wrong, I do it too.
I traveled all around the country with a red thing of tapes up there.
Yeah, that's different. I get it.
The thing about that
portability, it's a give to get.
You only get 8 tapes.
Yeah.
So you really get to know those records start to finish.
Intimately well.
Right?
Not just a song.
Yeah.
The whole record.
Whole thing.
Back when people made records.
Yeah.
Meaning they'd take the time to what song's going to go after which song and how's this experience going to go, because a record was 2 sides.
Right.
Was it 22 minutes a side if memory serves, or whatever it was?
Something like that.
So you had to, you had to kind of listen all the way through.
Right.
For the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't have to, but with cassettes you did. You could skip the needle ahead. But with
Right.
cassettes, well, you can fast forward, but where's the beginning of the song, really? You know what I mean? It's kind of a guessing game, in my opinion, But that was cool, though, because B-sides sometimes had some of the cooler musicality of sorts.
Oh, yeah.
Sure, you had to have hits to sell records. I get it from a business perspective. But the musicality was cool.
Yep.
Unless you had certain records that everything was just awesome.
Right.
And those are the ones we now call classic.
Right.
They stand the test of time.
Exactly.
Back then they were just brand new, and I remember some of these stuff now they're playing on classic rock radio. I'm like, Metallica's classic rock?
I know.
What?
I know.
I don't understand. They didn't play it on the radio ever, you know?
Right, but now I'm old.
Yeah, now I'm old, and I guess you all want to hear it now. It's crazy, but that's how it works.
Right.
Yeah.
That progressive band has now become a classic, which means I'm
And they got
old.
0 radio play and 0 video at all. They got no airtime.
Right.
But they did it organically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They stuck to their guns. I'm not saying everyone could do it, because there wasn't that many that pulled it off, obviously. Right. But there's still something to be said for that. Totally. They had a unique sound.
Yep.
When it first came out, that first record, Kill 'Em All, was done in Rochester, New York. And I just remember walking in, my girlfriend at the time was like, hey, we're going to go to the mall. I'm like, all right, and we were poor growing up. She was okay with her family. And so she bought me 3 records for my birthday. And I saw this one. I was like, whoa, that's got to be heavy. Just look at the cover. Back then, you could gauge what you expected by rock, hard rock, pop, by what the album cover looked like.
Yeah.
For example, Boy George and Culture Club. Didn't own it. Didn't buy it. Didn't dig it, right? I looked at it and went, I don't think that's my thing. But this thing over here, this animal, hammer on it, this Metallica logo looks cool. Look at the logo. Okay, I'm going to buy it,
Yeah, right.
And I remember playing it going, dear God, that's heavy. That's fast.
Right.
Immediately made, because this was a record. I was lucky enough to have a cassette record in one thing, right?
Yeah, man.
And so I made a cassette, immediately took it down where everyone was playing basketball, or we would hang out for the summer and play down the big boom box.
Oh,
remember?
Those are the best, of course.
Oh, my God. And everyone stopped dead in their tracks. Like, what is this? I'm like, I don't know. I just got it. I only heard 2 songs. I copied it and I brought it down.
Right,
so we all experienced it together, which was cool.
Yeah.
Because when you got something cool, you kind of want everyone else to dig it.
Totally.
Or at least listen to it together. So there was like that experience that occurred back then.
Sure.
At least in my small town. I don't know about everywhere, but that was my growing up.
I think that's a universal thing of those times.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to think so. I mean, granted, I'm only speaking for my experience, but I thought that was so cool.
Absolutely.
To experience music like that.
So, tail into high school, you're in a couple bands, I take it, and you're doing this stuff. Did you have your arsenal at that point? Did you have your 17
No,
hits?
not really. That came slightly later.
What were you thinking was the path? Was the music the path?
Come on, man. Everyone wants to be a rock star, right?
Right.
I don't know as I really want to be a rock star, to be fair, but I got in a band and we played some covers. We always, somehow, for whatever reason, we always did originals. I don't know why, but we did. It wasn't like talked about. It's like, this is what we're going to do. It just kind of was what it was.
Yep.
And, I was in an early band. We had some regional success, and that was cool. And that kind of grew from there, and I realized I got to get out of that smaller town because, nobody just turns out. They don't just show up in a small town looking for a band that's cool, right?
Right.
So I, started, doing stuff in New York City, session work, got in a band down there and toured around, hired gun as well, just paid to play.
Right.
Figured that's better than flipping burgers at Burger King.
Absolutely, man. But you were thinking at a time like pretty much just playing or whatever you could do.
I was just playing.
Also,
I was just playing, trying to record the best tones I could find. And, whatever that took to make something sound great.
Yeah.
And then, I tweaked on amps, yes. Not to the level I do now until that one blew up.
Right.
And then I went, oh, no, I've got to get this back. I had it.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. It was truly awesome. So that's, so I wasn't so much, I was just really just a guitar player.
Yeah.
Writing songs.
Sure.
And learning how to be a recording engineer, up to that point. And going into studios and asking questions as I saw guys doing that. Well, why are you doing that? Why are you putting this 1176 in there? Why are you doing that? Why? Oh, that's cool. And I was just so geeked out by it all that I was just making these mental notes in my mind of what worked and what didn't.
Yeah.
What microphones worked. How did you mic it? What's cool, what's not. And then I just would start going to the studio and miking the stuff myself, and I'd go in and play whatever they want me to play because I knew the engineers well enough. And then it kind of got into well, hey, wait, you can do that. Can you do it on my record? All right, sure. So I never really woke up one day and went, I'm going to be a recording engineer, or I'm going to be a session player. I certainly didn't wake up and go, I'm going to be an amp guy. It wasn't like that. It was just something I dug. It was enjoyable. It was a passion, truly a passion, and still is.
Your folks work at Westinghouse, punching a clock 9 to 5.
Yep.
You're the eldest son, small town. Maybe you've got a bright future to go to college and do whatever and whatever. Did that come into play? Were they like, hey, buddy?
Yeah.
Hey, buddy, this long-haired rock and roll thing is...
Well, I moved out, I think it was my junior year I moved out on my own and was playing in bands.
Junior year of high school.
I think it was junior year or maybe senior year of high school. You
moved out of the house.
Yeah, I moved out on my own.
Where were you living?
In the same town.
Okay.
It was in the same town, Bath. And, I was working at Acme Markets, a grocery store at night on the part-time when I wasn't playing. You know what I mean? So whatever it took to pay the bills, essentially, I was, gigging and doing that. And so quietly, once my folks didn't know this initially, but once I started playing guitar, I mean, this is no joke, and I do not recommend this, okay? But I didn't take a book home. A book never left my locker. Back then we had books, right?
Right.
Not now.
Right.
I know it's different now, laptops and all that, tablets, but I never took a book home. I would just do well on the test because that was a big part of your score back then.
Right, as long as you do that.
Did great, and I quietly ended up getting an art scholarship or so, and I never told my parents because, I didn't want to sit behind a desk all day and just do that, and I had so much energy back then, I don't think it would have been possible.
Yeah.
So I want to go into music, so I went into music, yeah.
Did you go to college?
No, I did not.
College was New York, session work, playing.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah.
The old term, School of Hard Knocks. Yeah, that was where I acquired it, I guess you'd say, yeah. Just sheer will and determination and passion.
Yeah. How old were you when the amp thing clicked?
Gosh, let me think. That's a good question. I haven't been asked that. I'm going to say really clicked somewhere, I think, in the early 90s. Somewhere in there.
Okay. So you
92?
20?
93, 94? Yeah, probably early 20s. Early 20s for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's when Voodoo started?
Voodoo officially, I founded Voodoo in 1998. Oh, wow. So it was 20 years. Yeah. 20 years.
So what happened between I'm looking for the link that got you out on the road. Cuz were you teching and out on the road doing this before Voodoo?
I mean, on and off.
Yeah.
On and off. If I would only do stuff like that if it, I wasn't doing session stuff because I really one of my all-time favorite passions is recording music and writing and recording music. I love the recording studio to death. I love it. Equal was doing amp stuff when you're creating a new design. You know what I mean? I've designed so many things, but I love designing. It's creative, right? I love doing this recording studio because it's so creative.
Yes.
So anything that's got that creative element, I'm into it. Graphics.
Yep.
All the graphics on our site I've done. There's a few that I haven't, but it's our web guy. But most of it, I've done. So really, those things were my mainstay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would write for other people. At one point, I had a publishing deal when that existed.
Mm-hmm.
Write for a living, that kind of thing. So if it wasn't that stuff, then yeah, then I would do that.
Yeah.
But, I'd rather play at that time. I'd rather play.
Yeah.
As guitar and be on stage at that time, which I don't mind doing now. To me, it's
Sure.
all part of the
Do you
same
still play a lot?
process. Oh yeah.
You play out a lot?
I don't play out a ton due to being on the road a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I have a couple things that I sit in with.
Uh-huh.
That I get invited when I'm home to sit in on some gigs, and I've had a long running. I want to call it a cover band, but really we do it our own way. We don't play it note for note. We just do our own thing, and it's called a band called the Mellon Brothers, and we play. It's all A-list guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That have been or done it, made records
Sure.
and all this stuff. So we maybe play, I'm going to say 8 times a year, possibly. Not a lot, but it's fun. We do it because we want to do it.
Yeah, right.
All the other guys are in like 3-4 bands or something, but, like that, bless their hearts.
Right.
Playing and somehow making a living doing it, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So we've talked a lot about art,
Mm-hmm.
inspiration, and passion, and design, and creativity. How did you learn how to run a business? And how do you balance the two parts of your brain to do so?
That's tricky.
Yeah. That's why I asked the question.
Balancing it can be tricky. Not how do I put this? Not so much for me, but in general, really creative people are really bad businessmen. And really good businessmen typically are not creative.
Right.
It's an administrative business numbers, thing, which is very different than being just freeform creative. My grandfather and his brother were businessmen coming up. So I think there's probably some of that has come from there. I have done things briefly, fleeting, because I don't really like corporate America. No offense to anyone. I just rather do my own thing. So I understand it and why and how it's all there. And, I get the whole business end of it. I get the marketing end of it. It just makes sense to me.
Did you take any classes to
figure
shit out?
No. I'm the crazy guy that apparently thought it'd be a brilliant idea to create mods full time and didn't realize it had never been done.
Right.
So I created a business model that it made sense to me.
Yep.
But I didn't realize that. Like Mike Soldano, great at what he does, absolutely. I remember growing up, like saying, "This guy's got a Soldano mod." I'm like, "Oh, it's so cool." Or Lee Jackson was another one, or Jose Arredondo was another one. But it turns out, I think that initially for those guys when they were doing mods, I think, as I understand it, my understanding is about 10% was mods and 90% was repair business for them. So I just assumed reading their name in a magazine, coming up that, wow, that's all they do. And so I thought, that's cool. I want to do that.
Yeah.
I think that would be cool. Rather than bounce around the road and run all over the place, I could stay home and do this, So somehow I created this business model that made sense to me. It's not something I pulled out of a book by any means, and it didn't exist, before that. I mean, people have copied it since then. Okay, whatever. I can't control that, and God bless them if they're able to do it.
Yep.
I look at this as a brotherhood, not a competitive thing. So maybe from a business perspective, that's not wise, but that's how I choose to look at it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. For me, I'm able to balance it. I figure, well, you've got to charge a certain amount to make it worth your while based on wherever you live, your cost of living, all that sort of stuff. And, that's how I look at it. So, yeah. And do the best job you possibly can for each person that you're doing it for, whoever it is. Whoever it is.
Yeah, right.
Doesn't have to be a huge rock star, but I just enjoy working with them. Yeah. Just fun for me, and same with the techs. I love working with the guitar techs. I love it.
What do you love about being on the road most?
I love working with the artists, and I love working with the guitar techs.
So when you're out there,
the travel, not so much.
When you're out there, you're really just focused on backline on the amps.
Yeah, I'm exactly. I'm not really doing anything else except the grig. You know what I mean? It's cool when you get a day off or something again. You can go find a cool place to eat, discover something cool like that, and then shoot the breeze and hang out. I love doing that. That's fun. So it's a mixture of both. There are some artists that I've become great friends with and feel very blessed because we have a great friendship and a true great dynamic. You know what I
Yeah.
mean, other guys, maybe not so much. You know what I mean?
job.
But it's yeah, it's a job. Yeah. Some guys don't look at what they do as a job. Some do. You know what I mean? It just varies from.
And I'm
player to
sure, yeah, right. I'm sure it varies from gig to gig. This is going to be a
very
job,
much so.
or this is going to be
each camp,
awesome.
as it's called, is the politics and everything. You know what I mean? The inner workings are all very different.
Yeah.
You know, so it's very funny. Some guys, there's not many, but some guys go, when we start playing, no one can be on stage. Nobody. I'm like, all right, whatever. You know.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna stay for the show? I'm like, nah, I don't want to be out front. I want to save my hearing. You know, so I'd rather get an in-ear mix.
Yep.
Hear what the player's hearing that I'm working with, whoever I'm working with. Hear what they're hearing, and go, does it sound like the rig or not? Or not? You know.
Right.
And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So that's the kind of stuff I like to see, and I can watch their hands while they're playing, see, you know, they're changing guitars, you know, see why, what are they using, why are they using it, and understand, okay, now I can take all that knowledge and work on this amp or build the amp, whichever it is. And that's how I choose to do it.
A lot of your days off spent just head in it back of an
I
amp.
really don't have as many days off as people might think.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean on the road.
Yeah.
Like you're buried,
It's all work.
buried in the
on
hotel
road to
room,
me.
just tearing apart an amp.
I get people that will message me on Facebook, man, if you're going to be in, I don't know, Des Moines, Iowa, or wherever it is, I don't know.
Yeah.
Man, I really like to meet you. I'm like, why does he want to meet me? What? What am I going to say? Hey, it's nice to meet you.
Gotta go.
Go back to work. I don't know. I don't view myself as anything. I don't put myself on a pedestal. I'm just a normal guy. Everyone's got the same struggles and trials in life.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah,
And
totally.
I've always been of the belief that once you start catering to or creating an ego or allowing whatever press is out there that's positive to affect you, it's the beginning of the end.
Right.
Meaning, I am constantly trying to learn something new to improve my craft all the time. But if you start buying into that end of it,
Yeah.
I've seen it a million times. It is the beginning of the end. It starts going upside down.
Right.
And I just don't even see the need for an ego. I don't get it. It just gets in the way of the creative process.
Sure.
So, you know.
It must be cool also, I'm just thinking of the dynamic on the road and working with a guitar tech.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're a guitar tech who's also with the amps, like you just have yourself, you've got the artist.
Yeah.
But when there's like two of you tag teaming the rig, that's got to be cool because you're bouncing.
It is, and sometimes it's funny
ideas,
because
you know?
guitar. It's interesting. It's in the name almost, right? Guitar techs, tech guitars, and of course have to set up the rig. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
They've got to understand signal flow on a pro level. Okay.
Sure.
They have to understand signal flow, MIDI, how's everything connected. If they got to implement something in and out of the rig,
Yeah.
and a lot of times they're doing the effects punches, as it's called.
Right.
This song up here, it's going to clean, and we need the chorus, or we need delay, and this other spatial thing, and they'll be the ones doing the punches, so to speak, or the changes, if you will.
Yeah.
A lot of people call it punches because they're punching a button.
Right.
Other guys will control their own up front,
Yeah.
but more times than not, the techs usually do it, you
Yeah.
know. So it's very interactive, with the player, sound-wise,
Yeah.
So not many truly understand amps, not the inside workings, I mean.
Yeah.
But they know amps, of course,
Sure.
but not the inner workings. So a lot of times, I'll teach people how to bias, stuff like that. I'm like, hey, it's no big deal to me. If you can make your job easier, here, go for it, Or they'll call me up even when I'm at home, go, man, I got this problem, and I'll troubleshoot it over the phone with them and do all of that. Or anything I can do to help make their job easier and better, I'm all about it.
That's awesome.
I mean, trying to keep the knowledge for myself, I don't get that mentality. I don't understand that.
So what's your role during a show itself?
Depends on the band or the artist.
Like if the tech is there really handing off guitars, doing all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's their world, their thing.
Okay.
I stay clear of that so they can work efficiently. If
Yep.
something goes on during the show, then if it's amp related, then I got to be Johnny on the spot, of course.
Yeah.
Or if there's a weird noise or something's happening, my brain understands signal flow. So, and this is another weird thing I can't teach to people, but someone goes, well, I got this Boss overdrive pedal, and I got this, I got that, I got this pickup and this guitar with this kind of wood, with this kind of, stainless steel frets, and da-da-da-da-da-da. And my brain adds it all up to what it would sound like within about 90% of what it would sound like. Because I'm familiar with all these pieces. And somehow the instant recall, I guess, I don't know what you call it, for certain sounds or pedals or effects. I mean, there's a million out there. Lord knows I don't know them all, but like amps, guitars, pickups, speakers, cabinets, cable, wire, all that. Yeah. I mean,
makes sense.
Somehow it makes sense in my head. I don't know how, but it does. I wish I could teach that somehow.
Yeah.
It's just the experience of hearing it, playing on it, and logging it. You know what I mean? In your head. That's all.
So then it really does sound like the day off or those off times are, that is when you're working the most.
In a certain way, yeah, it is.
Because you've taken all that information you just downloaded from the show, and you're like, okay, I got to make an adjustment here. I got to do that over here.
That's what I like doing in a perfect world, and to me, I'd rather be doing that than sitting there.
Right? Yeah, of course.
Again, workaholic tendencies and all,
man.
but don't get me wrong. There's times to relax. But
how much are you out throughout the year compared to being home?
This year's been really busy.
What do you got going on this year?
So much I've already done. I can't even begin to tell you without looking. It's about, on and off and on and off and on and off.
Yeah. Mostly with Joe?
What's that?
Mostly with Joe?
Oh, no, with many.
Okay.
I go out with many different groups, many, and it's a situation sometimes where I'll go out because I know the text well,
right.
And we're friends, and I'll go, hey, you're da-da-da, or they'll call me and go, hey, we're going to be in there. I'm like, all right, I'll come out, we'll hang out, and you want me to bring anything? No, we don't need to bring anything. And probably 95% of the time I'll bring stuff anyway because suddenly, oh, you know what? This went down, and this pickup isn't working, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And half the techs are more than capable of doing it, but what happens is you got guys loading stuff in, not them, stagehands.
Right.
And so if it's union and all that jazz, maybe it took longer. Now, if you're 4 hours behind, 3 hours behind, whatever it might be, the show still has to start on time. So, when they're in that mode and they're racing, trying to do something, it's not on me to do it, but I'll absolutely jump in and help. I mean, to me, it's all about the greater good.
Right.
So, that's how I look at it.
So if I'm a young guy and I come to you today and I'm like, dude, I'm thinking about starting a boutique amp company.
God bless you. God bless you. I mean, when I got into this, there were so few. And most of it now is, and I'm generalizing, of course, but there's these kit companies, right?
Yeah.
So many people can just buy the kit, build it, and just change the faceplate or put their logo on, and they're an amp company until something goes wrong and they're not sure how to really truly fix that.
Right, because they don't understand.
So, you see a lot of people, year and a half, 2 years pop up and go away,
Yeah.
But I think that's true of any industry. Someone doesn't truly put the time in and doesn't have the passion for it. But, hey, if you do and you absolutely love it and you'd rather do nothing else except that, then go for it. The cream always rises. This is something I was told to me. God, I hated that saying. I was like, all right, I really want this to be awesome. I just want one big player, just one. You know what I mean? And the cream rises. Yeah, I know. Can it rise faster? Maybe. Of course. I was, eager. Just wanted to, try to be the best at what I did. In my own mind.
Yep.
But it takes time for that to get around because pro guys, I understand it being in it now on the inside, so to speak, where, you're putting your whole everything on the line. And so if the tech's like, okay, I want you to use this piece of gear, they got to know that that's not going to let someone down.
Right.
And it's not going to break down or be inconsistent. And it's their word is their whole everything.
Sure.
It's not a small thing.
Right.
So when I get called out to help with certain things, first and foremost, it's like, I'm here to support that guitar tech and the artist. But even if the artist calls me out and it's a different tech I haven't met, still, I look at it as my job to make that tech look as good as humanly possible.
Yeah.
The player, absolutely. That's a given.
Right.
Because that's what the tech is doing too.
Right.
But it's truly a team effort.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's how
absolutely.
I look at it.
Well, that's why I'm fascinated by this stuff. I'm fascinated by the trust, that level of trust that has to go down.
Right
because
there is that word trust.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Because
if I go out and I can't make something great.
Yeah.
Or if I can, right? If I can, cool, you're the hero of the day, right? If not, you're just another guy that tried.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
chances are there's somebody else there waiting
if I've worked for him before, sometimes something will just be so rare as some part in there, or meaning you're just not going to find it everywhere in the world, let alone in the United States. Go, hey, look, this is an old amp. Look, I got this back at the shop, but I can't carry, 75 old Transformers with me everywhere,
Right.
But I can do it at home. This is one of those rare moments where you have to do this at home. And they understand at that point,
Yeah.
But if it's something silly, you got to bring your A game.
Right.
People don't,
Yeah.
There's no, I'm going to.
The road doesn't suffer fools.
No. There's this old saying, this is a Japanese thing. Someone goes, I'm going to come out there, I'm going to try my best. Like, there's no try, there's only do. Out there, you have to do. You can't try, because the try is accept a bit of failure, possibly, right?
Yeah.
So you got to know that when you're jumping in, you're going to make it happen, and it's going to meet their expectations. Hopefully exceed it, but at least meet it.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. That's my frame of mind. Not everybody's, but
aside from music, aside from designing, aside from good wine or tequila or whatever it is.
Whatever. Yeah, I don't go crazy on that stuff by any means. I wouldn't be able to do what I do otherwise.
How else do you sort of feed the beast, the soul beast? On the road or at home? Are you a reader? Are you a meditator?
Yeah, all the above, actually. I don't get a chance to read as often as I'd like.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Just, it takes me forever to read a book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ironically, if it's a technical book, I can fly through it and I eat it up. But, reading regular stuff is a little challenging. But yeah, being spiritual, so to speak, not religious.
Right.
I don't follow organized religion. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not my thing.
Yep.
But being spiritual, being someone that would, meditate, clear your mind, kind of get centered. You know what I mean? Sometimes to approach a difficult challenge or project, like, this thing is kicking my butt. What in the hell is going on? So yeah, sometimes just chilling out and relaxing, going, okay, let's approach this. When you're clear-minded like that, things, answers or solutions or resolutions come, easier.
Yeah.
But that's it, pretty much just being relaxed and try to be mellow whenever I can.
Right.
Sometimes I have to make the time. Sometimes that's necessary.
Yeah.
Life gets so busy that I can be as busy as I want, which is, I'm blessed. Believe me, I'm very grateful. But, also times for like writing music. I like to write and do that and record, go in a studio or cook. I like cooking. I'm a huge
That's a
fan of
meditative experience too.
For
right?
me, it really is, because my technical-minded brain kind of stops. I flip the switch off, and when I'm cooking, it's just a whole other thing.
Sure.
That I love. It's a very Zen thing.
Yeah.
For lack of a better way to put it for me.
Absolutely.
And I like doing it all from scratch. I don't know where I got onto it, but I've been doing it for years, and I love it.
Yeah.
So that's
another,
kind of it in a
another
nutshell.
art form, dude.
It really is.
Right?
It really is. You give 5 chefs the 5 same ingredients to make a red sauce, and it's all different.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of it.
Right.
That's the art. It's how taste buds are different. We hear differently. All our ears aren't shaped the same,
right?
Let alone the inside. So it's when you think of it that way, and some of it's like taking adjectives people come up with it.
Yeah.
You have to apply the guitar tone. I'm looking for da 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 da.
Right.
Like, okay. And a lot of it is guitar lingo.
Right.
That we've created somehow as players. And so I speak that language, which makes it easier to communicate with artists. Because I play guitar, but without it, that'd be a challenge. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how people design stuff and haven't played for a long time.
Right.
I got into this thinking, well, you have to play for a long time. You got to make records. You got to.
Yeah. Yeah.
How else would you do this? It turns out that's not normal. It's
right.
Right. I didn't know.
Right. But it certainly helps.
I think so. It does for me.
Yeah. Couple more for you. If you could build the perfect amp for any player, living or dead, who would it be?
Man, you just hit on that one word that everyone asked me. What is your favorite this? What is your favorite that? What is your favorite two? What is your favorite? And people ask me, what's your favorite color? They all ask me these questions that, the word favorite. The honest to God truth of the matter is I don't have favorites.
Okay.
And here's why. If we only had red paint to paint with, it'd get incredibly boring. If we only had one genre of music to draw from, God, that would be boring.
Yes.
Think about it. Somebody go, I could listen to metal my whole life. Okay, fine. But there's different styles.
Sure.
Right? Different kinds. People play differently. You have one band, one record in existence. Eventually, you might not listen to it anymore. Maybe. So for me, I think it's about variety. To me, that's what's so cool. I've designed so many different things with so many different tones and different reasons for it,
Yeah.
Someone's like, well, you probably wouldn't work on an old, Vox AC-15. I'm like, I love those. Yes. An old AC-30? Yes. I work on a lot of that stuff. It's just we're not known for it for whatever reason, but we're not known for it. But I love working on stuff, doing vintage restorations properly. I mean, sonically and the way it feels and everything. I love doing that stuff. But so there's a lot of stuff that I would work on and do that a lot of people would be very surprised by. I guess just from a public perspective.
Yep.
Facebook, whatever, website. Right. We've got more known for Marshall for what, it's trickier doing that, I guess.
Yep.
Distortion's a little harder to do than clean sounds, so it seems for people. Right. But I love a great clean sound. I love it. I love a great jangly overdrive. Again, different flavors for different reasons.
Right.
Different guitars make you play differently.
Right.
A Telly's not going to make you play like a Les Paul, would make you play like a Strat or a 335. And you know what I mean? So all those flavors are, to me, that's the cool stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to eat vanilla ice cream my whole life.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, you want different stuff. You know? So that's part of the reason when we started this with like Greg Howard and Trace Foster was so cool with touring with those guys, because I hadn't done that kind of tour in a long time. I did that because it was AC/DC and they influenced my ear.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I said that for me would be a way of giving back, and I thought that would be cool.
Yeah.
But just being able to go and try different food places, you know what I mean? With other guys who were equally into food, that was cool. Yeah. That was cool.
But I also imagine then this is going to go back, building your first amps and then going out and seeing the thing on stage being played by a high-low. It's got to be like, fuck, man, that's fucking awesome.
Sometimes I don't think, most of the time I guess I don't think about it, right? Because...
Right. Well, because you start thinking about it too much and it'll start freaking you out.
I mean, it's perspective. It's this word I use a lot, perspective, because you could look at something 6 different ways or any number of ways and see it with a different perspective. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I can't remember one time, I think it was, we were working with Vivian Campbell, the one I'm thinking of, in Def Leppard. I made a custom 2-channel preamp for him. We modded his JMP1 preamps he's used, but I did this one preamp and he has what he's using on that particular tour he wanted tweaked. Okay, so we went out and we did it and made that happen, and they went, well, check it out front, let me know what it sounds like. Okay, so went out front just to listen, that's all, and went to the front of house and was listening and going, well, it sounds really good. And I think it was Hysteria at the end, he actually improvises. So he has that spot where he can just freeform. You know what I mean, do whatever he wants. And he was playing, and it was just like, instantly hit me. I was like, wow, that's amazing. I mean, he's a great, great player. But hearing him just playing like that and just going wherever he wanted to go, the way it felt, at that moment, was cool. Yeah. And the whole place erupted at the end. They just went, oh my God. So it's one of those energy exchange moments, if you know what I'm saying.
I do.
He was playing. So I was like, wow, that's neat. And, the fellows with it's like, no, did that have anything to do with him? Like, I don't know. I mean, when you start thinking in those terms, you know what I mean? It's, again, I don't have any interest in feeding the ego. I don't want any part of that. But if I was in some small way able to help facilitate, I look at it as removing roadblocks. If I was in some way able to facilitate him being able, whatever occurred in his head, to simply play it rather than play around the roadblocks or the confines of what the amp would or wouldn't do, then that's cool. Yeah. I think I've done my job properly.
Yep.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah. Well, then you kind of answered my final question, which I'll phrase out to you anyway. And if anything else sparks, you can jump in.
Sure.
So it's many, many fruitful years from now. The last Voodoo amp is rolling off the line, and you are shutting off the lights for the last time. What do you hope to have left behind?
Well, I don't much think in those terms, other than probably to come back to what I said before, which is, and this is because of when I came up, when I was a kid going to these concerts, right, at these arenas, and looking up and seeing, what back then was Vox, Fender, and Marshall.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, oh yeah.
So depending on it, well, that's an amazing Fender sound. Wow, or wow, listen to that,
Yeah.
That's a killer, like Judas Priest back then.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was killer Marshall tones, or guys that had modded Marshalls, I didn't know they were modded at the time.
Yeah.
So, I go to the store thinking I'm going to play this riff, and it's go, wow, this sounds nothing like what they sounded like.
Right.
So some of that is going, I don't do it for money. I mean, yes, money has to change hands and is a medium of exchange. We have to pay bills and whatnot. But to me, if I was that kid, like I was, going, oh, look at that. There's, in this case, a Voodoo on stage instead of Marshall or Fender or Vox, and go, you know what? I'd like it so that when someone plugs in, they go, wow, this is cool. This inspires me to play.
Yeah.
And maybe they write stuff. I've done this. I played on something and it made me come up with a riff that I wouldn't have played because it felt a certain way. It reacted a certain way. When I played on another amp or another guitar, it doesn't do that same thing.
Yeah.
So it inspired something,
Yep. Yep.
So at the end of the day, as long as it inspires someone, that's all I really care about.
Yep.
Yep. I mean, I don't do it for the money. I don't do it for the fame or whatever you want to call it. I mean, to me, I just don't care about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yep.
So I'd rather inspire people in some way, hopefully.
Yeah.
Be it good or bad. Go, I hate that. I don't like that at all. Okay, fine. You'll never gonna play it again. Cool. But at least you know.
Yep.
It's like some guys can't play a Strat, but they love a Les Paul or vice versa.
Right.
But at least once you play it, you know.
Right.
So that's all I'm doing. That's it. Simple.
Cool. Trace, this has been awesome, dude.
Oh, thanks
I
for
appreciate
inviting
you
me.
making the drive down again.
Oh, my pleasure.
And
Truly.
if I ever venture up north there, I'd love
By all
to
means,
pop
let
in,
me know.
man. I'd love to pop in and plug in, as it were.
Sure.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And
we're doing all kinds of stuff. I'm
cool.
For the first time in, designing a combo. Usually combos are always a give to get. You got to give up a certain amount of thing that happens with the sealed cabinet.
Right.
That doesn't happen with the combo always. For portability.
Yeah.
Lighter.
Yeah.
Everything's lighter and easier to carry. And so I've got this crazy idea that maybe I can do this thing that might try to overcome some of that.
All right, cool.
And perhaps that works, perhaps it doesn't. But so just always designing something fun and new. That's all.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I appreciate it again.
Thanks.
I appreciate taking the time, dude.
Thank you. Truly. Thank you.
You got it.
Trace Davis. Thank you very much, dude. I appreciate it so much having you here at the barn. Folks, don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Podcast, YouTube, and Spotify, all as Roadie Free Radio. Check out the website, roadiefreeradio.com, and send me a note because I want to hear from you. That's info@roadiefreeradio.com. And in the meantime, you all be safe out there. No roadies, no rock and roll.